Today we had some more OverDress reveals. Now last week we had the reveal of Angry Megumi, which showed us that Stoicheia was already winning. But today it has once again been shown that Stoicheia, best deck. Let's go! Let's check it out. Now, of course, we don't want to be biased, so we're gonna be covering the Ketter Sanctuary first. We have Knight of Heavenly Sword Fort. Auto when this unit is rode upon by Knight of Heavenly Spear Rooks, which is the next grade. Cost reveal 2 grade 3 cards from your hand. Be aware this deck runs a ton of them. Reveal the top card of your deck, call it to R if it is a unit card, and put it into your drop zone if it isn't. So you check a unit, you call it, it's an order, it goes to drop zone. So this is just a plus. It's kind of gold paladin-ish, where you just check top and call it. And then act on R once per turn, cost counterblast 1, choose one of your grade 3 vanguards, and it gets power plus 5k until end of turn. So this isn't really like exciting, it's just some power buff. Fair enough. Then, Knight of Heavenly Spear Rooks. Auto when this unit is rode upon by Apex Ruler Bastion, cost reveal 3 grade 3 cards from your hand and draw a card. So just plussing for having grade 3s in hand. And then continues on R during your turn. If you have 3 or more grade 3 units, this unit gets boost and power plus 5k. So usually your rows will probably be like 3 grade 3s in the front, and then this in the back as a really fat booster. So you're just going for those huge swings with those grade 3s boosted by this grade 2. Then finally you have Apex Ruler Bastion, which is your boss. Continues on V during your turn. All of your grade 3 units get power plus 2. So that means on your ride-up turn, you are actually making guarding very awkward for your opponent, because suddenly you have 15Ks that swing at 10k grade 2s. So they're not going to appreciate that. And then auto on V once per turn. At the end of the battle that you drive, check, reveal the grade 3, cost, discard a card from your hand, choose one of your rear guards, stand it, and it gets power plus 10k. So it's a bit random, but this is basically a Jura Kaiser, or, well, Mordred Light, if you want to put it that way. Overall, they mentioned on stream how the first 3 star decks are going to be simpler to play than the last 2. So Megumi and Tomari will be a bit more challenging to play than the first 3. Overall, all these star decks will still be super simple, because it's just trying to get new players to get into the new format, into OverDress and so forth. So they are keeping the barrier to entry extremely low. We already saw this with the other 2 reveals that we had before. But at least they're saying like, okay, and then the next 2 will be slightly harder, and then you start having your booster sets and it gets even more interesting. Now we get to Stoicheia. Sylvan Horned Beast Charis. Auto when this unit is rode upon by Sylvan Horned Beast Lattice, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a grade 2 or less unit card, call it to R, and if it isn't, put it into your soul. What's interesting here is that this is, like, in a weird way better than the other grade ones on right, because the other one will either, you know, plus you to the field or go to drop, whereas here it's either plus to the field or go to soul. But again, it's not entirely the same, because they're different grade requirements and so forth. Then continuous back row. During the battle that this unit attacked, this unit gets power plus 5k. So it's essentially saying we are attacking from the back row in the Stoicheia Nation, which is interesting. Then we have Sylvan Horned Beast Lattice, so the grade 2 that has to ride over this. Auto when this unit is rode upon by Sylvan Horned Beast King Magnolia, which is our boss. Cost Soul Blast 1, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a unit card, call it to R, and if it isn't, put it into your hand. So once again, you're plussing. If it's an order, add it to hand. If it isn't, call it to R. Then auto back row R. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, costs Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets power plus 10k until end of that battle. So this is a 20k swinger from the back row, but it costs a soul, and its other skill also costs a soul. So you kind of start already noticing why that grade 1 had to build soul. This deck will eat through soul very, very quickly. Finally, we have our Sylvan Horned Beast King Magnolia, our beautiful chonker. Auto on V. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked, cost counterblast 1. Choose one of your rear guards, and until end of turn, that unit can attack from the back row and gets power plus 5k. So note how your other grade 2, who's a 10k with his skill, gets 5k on top of that, so now it hits over a defensive trigger. I saw some people say like, oh, this will not be able to hit over defensive triggers, and while that's definitely a weakness the deck has to some extent, 25 hits over one. Your grade 2 will kind of be the key to not dying to defensives. Now, the second part of this skill is if you Persona rode this turn, choose 3 rear guards instead of 1. So if you Persona ride, this deck does 6 attacks rather than 4. And that is a big deal. That is a game-ending deal right there. So people on the stream I was watching different fight were already saying, well, Stoicheia's just better than everything. And of course, we had Angry Megumi show us we were gonna win this war. Now, on the stream, Mori also came on and mentioned how, well, he was kind of speaking very cryptic. He wasn't being very obvious in one direction or another, but he was essentially saying how that the mechanic of the start deck, there's something about it. It's going to be either controversial or it's going to challenge people in some way and so forth. So everyone's essentially thinking, okay, we already know Tomari is going to lock units away, like detain them. And then now they're saying it's a bit controversial or weird or something's about it. So everyone's currently thinking that the Tomari start deck will lock units. So I don't know if that's true. We don't know. We're all speculating, but hold your horses. It's possible. Now, one more thing we saw during the stream. We saw a damage zone, and if you zoom in, it has 2 triggers. And these 2 triggers both have these boxes. Now, last week, we mentioned this box can either be reminder text or our triggers have skills. And back then, you know, it was a bit up in the air. However, what we notice is these 2 triggers have entirely different text boxes. So it is less likely now that this is reminder text. Because if it was reminder text, why does it have 2 entirely different box sizes? So what we are starting to speculate and assume is that we do have effect triggers coming. Now, if you look closely, you also see this little symbol that looks like a power symbol. So this little fox thing might give power in some way. Because that's what it looks like. You have like this little diagonal thing and it kind of looks like the power sword. So it's entirely possible that this does something with power. But again, we're all speculating. It's just that now that we have 2 triggers with entirely different boxes, we are starting to more so assume that it's an effect rather than reminder text. Especially because that second box is a bunch of lines. And a reminder text doesn't have to be that many lines. So we're looking forward to that. It'd be very exciting if we get actual triggers with proper skills. But we'll see what happens there. Now, next up, they also went over rarities. So we already knew that we have 10 triple Rs, 15 double Rs, 30 Rs, and 65 commons in the first set. However, they slightly altered it. Instead, you will now have 10 double Rs and 5 ORRs. And these are essentially just the over triggers, and they're not super rare or anything like that. It's just they're differentiating to make it a bit more easy to understand, essentially. What they also said is that there will be 1 ORR in every single box. So it's not like these over triggers are going to be extremely expensive and ruin the budget of the game, because every single box has one. So that means any case should have 20. So that means that you have 4 of discard per case, which is not a lot, but it's not that bad either. Especially given that your deck only needs 1 of this. You can only run 1. Beyond that, we also already knew that SPs are 1 per box. So overall, when you're opening a box, you're having quite some hits. You know, you have your triple Rs, your double Rs, okay. But then you also have your over trigger and you have your SP. So that's going to be exciting. Of course, we also had the holo thing where lower rarity stuff can come in better bling. I think a lot of whales will really carry the price of a lot of stuff because of those holos. So that's exciting. But yeah, overall hype, of course, once again, currently a lot of people seem to agree. Stoicheia best deck. We'll see what Team Tomari does next week. Do they lock? That's gonna be crazy. One thing that's interesting is that if they lock entire boards, then that start deck is just better than everything else. So I don't think they'll do that. So it's more likely that it will lock one thing. And in that case, Stoicheia already deals with the Tomari issue. Like, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.